Alright, gonna make a random video about some real-time troubleshooting. I have no idea how long this will take or what I will find, but the issue is apparently there is a texture on here that is rendering strangely. Let me get progressive refinement, and I only care about the tops. Alright, so apparently, like, if the top rotates, the texture stays the same. My theory, it seems like there's not a texture attached, but I'm going to give the thing a try. My theory is that what's happening is a 3D texture was used. So what I'm going to do is assign a new material to this. I'm going to make this, I'm just going to go with AI standard because I should, quote unquote, if I'm test rendering with Arnold. So I have, and I'm just going to go ahead and give this another material, same AI standard surface. So I'm going to use I'm going to use a 3D texture on that one, and a reg text on this one. So this is going to be like a normal 2D texture. So what we have, if we go into our hypershade, there are two textures that I see already here if we look up the textures tab. So one of these is this marble here. This one, actually, so I'm going to click on this and I'm going to go ahead and expand that. This is a 3D texture. Confuses me when it puts the little tab on my other screen. Alright, so here we have our 3D texture. This is my one that I'm going to try the 3D texture on, so I'm just going to, where are we going? Grab this from the hypershade and just plop that in color. And you can see we have some kind of weird little marble texture on here now. For this guy, I'm going to grab this marble texture, which if we expand that, you can see that is a 2D texture, which apparently also has some motion stuff mapped into it. That shouldn't really make a huge difference. So what I'm going to do is just grab this, grab my little 2D dice, go into the texture, and then drag this into color. So you can see we have two marble dice here, and actually I'm rendering this in the background, aren't I? Oof. Oh, wait, no, I'm not. Great. Alright, so we have our two marble textures here. There's two differences right off the bat, ignoring the fact these dice are absurdly shiny. So the 2D texture you can see in the viewport if we rotate this around. Obviously, like, you can see this veining here. And then if you look at this one, I mean, you can see like some dots of red, but it only really shows up while rendering. That's one of the annoying things just about 3D textures is most times they only show up at render. But they are really nice because if you look at them, so if we look, this is going to be really weird when I start this render. I have no idea where this is going to be. Oh, that actually kind of worked. So if we look at this, you can kind of see... Hello. What have I done? Oh no. That is the opposite of what I wanted. But you can kind of see that it's like wrapping nicely around the edge. It doesn't really care about the UVs for 3D textures. The weird thing, however, about a 3D texture, which I think maybe is the issue here, I'm just going to like stash this in the corner, is that if we... So this is supposed to be a spinning top animation. So if we rotate these textures... Come on. I'm gonna stop the render real quick. Dude, you need to calm down, and what is this computer doing? Okay, here we go. Alright, so if we go ahead and we rotate... Oh wait, what is this? This is... Okay, so here we have a place 3D texture node. So when you make a 3D texture, this is by default what's going to show up. And when I say 3D texture, all I mean is... Let me make the ground a new material. This one I'm just going to be lazy and make a Lambert. Actually, I'm going to do an AI surface shader because it showed up first. So I'm going to do this, and if you map something in here, it's going to pull up this box by default. So these are all your 2D textures. They're file-based. They care about your UVs. These are 3D textures. So there's like wood grain, a bunch of other random stuff in here. This is what I applied onto this, and if we click this, so say let's add like a granite texture, you can see it makes this extra little 3D texture node here. So we're going to go ahead and render that, and ooh, that looks terrible. I am not a huge fan of the granite. It can look nice if you refine it, but this is gross. So I'm going to go back and make this Lambert 1 again, because that was a gross thing. I actually have no idea where Lambert 1 is, so that's going to just stay granite, I guess. So anywho, what happens if you rotate or move around both of these objects? I'm just going to grab these dudes and sort of translate them in a random direction. Oh my. And you can see that the texture on this one shifted. So what happens when you're doing 3D textures is it's basically generating a texture, I guess, in your whole environment, and based on the object's placement, it's going to change how the texture looks. So it's convenient for a lot of things, especially if you don't want to deal with UVs. But obviously if you move your object and then things start not being where they should, like, that's not ideal. So I'm gonna, oh wait, what the heck? And this one's moving too, question mark. Which I have literally never seen happen with a 2D texture. I'm actually gonna, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go ahead and break this connection and map in a 2D marble texture into this. Wait, is that a thing? Do they have 2D marble textures? Apparently they don't. I'm gonna give this dude a noise texture, and just call that a day, cough cough. And I'm gonna go ahead and break the connection on this and add a 3D marble texture, which we should pretty much already have, but I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of everything else in the scene. So I'm going to go ahead and do edit, delete unused nodes, and edit, oh, that did the texture too, I forgot that was a thing. Alright, so that just got rid of everything that wasn't already assigned to an object. Hopefully, maybe that'll make my scene run a tiny bit faster, but here's what we have now. Alright. So I'm going to grab, again, this top here, and I'm going to move this over. And you can, I mean, in this one you can actually very clearly see that it is moving. So again, if you render this, it's going to look different. This dude shouldn't care because it's just 2D texture space, so again, I'll just do a quick render and you can see that really hasn't changed. So my theory, if you basically say that you liked, I'll test this with rotation too, because that seemed to be the issue. So with this one, and you can actually see it in the viewport, when you rotate the 2D texture, this is a 2D noise and a 3D marble, when you rotate the 2D texture, that is changing based on the position of the object, if we rotate these in any direction. Whereas the 3D texture, you can kind of see how the object is like moving weirdly through the texture. So if you don't want that, like you like this particular layout, but you don't want that to happen, what you need to do is grab this 3D texture node and parent it to the object with that material. So obviously this only works if you have a single object with this texture. If you have multiple objects and one is moving, it's going to move everything else, which isn't what you want. But now when I move this, it should be moving this at the same time, kind of like keeping it at the same space within the texture field, if that makes sense. You can also, if you're so inclined, if your object isn't moving, you can still move this place 3D texture node, and that will move everything else. But in this case, I think it was just maybe some stuff got hooked up a little bit weird in the outliner. It seemed like some stuff that was actually a 3D texture was somehow got labeled as like a 2D texture, which I've actually never seen happen, but I think you can sort of re-hook up texture nodes, so that maybe that's what happened here. But in this case, I think the easiest solution would be to actually just go through and delete the textures and remake them, and make sure you're just like familiar with which one you're using.